Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the most famous, most debated, and, let's be honest, most enduring UFO stories of all time, the Roswell incident.
So let's get right into it. This is the question that has absolutely captivated people for more than 75 years. We're going to peel back all the layers of myth, of military secrecy, and eyewitness accounts. And we'll start where it all began, back in the summer of 1947.
So our story kicks off in early July 1947. Now, you gotta remember, this was the first summer of the Cold War, and there was this nationwide craze over flying saucers. And right in the middle of all that, the military itself makes this truly dramatic announcement. I mean, can you imagine reading this? The Roswell Army Airfield. And this is the home of the world's only nuclear-capable bomb group at the time. They put out a press release saying, yep, we got one. We've captured a flying disc. The news, as you can guess, just exploded. It made headlines all over the world. For a hot second, it looked like the biggest mystery of all time was solved.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. Look at the incredible disconnect here. On one side, you've got this absolutely sensational headline. But on the other, you have the rancher who actually found the stuff, Mac Brazel, and his description was, well, pretty boring. Tinfoil, paper, tape, and sticks. It hardly sounds like some kind of advanced alien technology, right? And then, just like that, the story was over. Seriously. The military holds a press conference, they show reporters some pieces of a beat-up weather balloon, and they basically say, oops, our bad, false alarm. The flying disc was gone, and for the next few decades, so was the story.
For 30 years, Roswell was pretty much just a forgotten footnote, a weird little blip in UFO history. But then, in the late 1970s, one of the key military guys from the original event comes forward, and he changes, well, everything. As you can see from this timeline, the whole thing just lay dormant for a generation. Then, boom, 1978. Major Jesse Marcel, the actual officer who recovered the debris back in 47, he gives this explosive interview. And that interview, well, it becomes the foundation for the 1980 book that launched Roswell from a forgotten incident into a global phenomenon.
So, this is the crucial point, right here. Major Marcel's story did a complete 180. Back in 1947, he was on the record, identifying the material as part of a weather device. But 30 years later, he claims that was all a cover story. He started insisting the material was, and I quote, not of this earth. He even described these incredible properties, like a metallic foil that, if you crumpled it up, would just flatten itself back out. So with Marcel's new testimony out there, researchers in the 80s and 90s went digging, and they uncovered this whole wave of new witnesses. And these accounts, which were often collected decades after the fact, they introduced the most sensational element of all, alien bodies. The story suddenly expanded to include not just a field of weird debris, but a second crash site where the actual craft and its occupants were supposedly found. You know, as the Roswell legend got bigger, so did the number of people telling the story. And the narrative started to splinter, it got more and more elaborate, and honestly, a lot of the versions started to contradict each other. And this table just illustrates it perfectly. Look how the story escalates. We start in 1947 with, foil and sticks and zero bodies. By 1980, it's a super strong metal with humanoid corpses. Then by the early 90s, we have different books proposing different crash sites, alien writing, partially eaten corpses, escape pods, and even survivors. The story was kind of becoming this choose-your-own-adventure of UFO lore. And if that wasn't enough, the growing myth was also getting fueled by a series of just outright hoaxes. Details from an earlier, totally debunked crash story in Aztec, New Mexico, somehow got absorbed into the Roswell story. Then you had the Majestic 12 documents, faked government memos about a secret UFO committee, and, of course, the infamous alien autopsy film, which captivated millions in 1995 before it was exposed as a complete and total fabrication.
Okay, so let's jump to the 1990s. Public interest is at an all-time high. It's being driven by all these books and TV shows, and the U.S. Air Force is feeling the pressure. They're pushed to declassify their records and finally, give a definitive answer to the whole Roswell mystery. So the Air Force releases these two really detailed reports, and in them, they admit it. The original weather balloon story was in fact a cover-up, but, and this is a big but, it wasn't for a UFO. It was to hide a top-secret spy program called Project Mogul. It used these massive trains of high-altitude balloons with microphones to try and listen in on Soviet atomic bomb tests. It was debris from one of these spy balloons, they said, that the rancher Mac Brazel found. Okay, so what about the alien bodies? Well, the Air Force had an explanation for that too. They pointed to another one of their programs. Turns out, in the 1950s, they were dropping these life-sized test dummies from balloons all over the New Mexico desert. They argued that people's memories, years or even decades later, of seeing military guys recovering these bald, flight-suited figures could have gotten confused and mixed up with the Roswell story. And when you actually put the details side by side, the official explanation has some pretty compelling matches. Those so-called alien hieroglyphics, they look a whole lot like the floral patterns on some adhesive tape that was used in the Mogul balloons, tape that was actually sourced from a toy company. And the stories about military personnel loading small bodies into bags, that lines up really well with how they'd recovered test dummies in black insulation bags. Now, you might think that a super detailed, declassified government explanation would finally put the story to rest. But it didn't, not even close. Instead, the Roswell incident just transformed from a UFO mystery into this massive cultural phenomenon. I mean, the town of Roswell itself just completely embraced its otherworldly fame. It's become this global tourist destination. They've got alien-themed museums, festivals, even the streetlights are alien-themed. The legend isn't just a story anymore, it's the town's whole identity and a multi-million-dollar industry. And the story's impact on pop culture, wow, it's almost impossible to overstate. It's central to the mythology of the X-Files. It's basically the entire plot of Independence Day. It's been referenced and parodied and retold in countless ways. Roswell has become the definitive alien crash story. So I think the crucial takeaway here isn't just about what crashed in that desert in 1947. It's about why we're all still so deeply fascinated by it. Was it a Cold War secret? An extraterrestrial visit? Or just a modern folktale born from secrecy and suspicion? In the end, the answer might actually be less important than the enduring power of the question itself.